think we ran out of space.
Don't worry about it. It's not recording into this. Unless you hit record?
Before the game.
Did you hit record on this?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I was told so. He said
No, you don't need to be recording on this.
What?
Don't worry about it. We're recording through the computer.
Okay.
It's not actually recording on this.
Oh, okay, whatever. Whatever. That's fine.
And welcome back to Melville, Long Island for the second half of the Long Island Lady Rough Riders versus the Lancaster Inferno. In the first half, it was a surprising score. Lancaster 1, Long Island Rough Riders 0. So far, the defense of Lancaster has stifled the Rough Rider offense, which has overall this season been prolific. The Rough Riders need a win today to secure a spot in the playoffs, and that has avoided them so far.
For the Rough
Scoring
Riders.
chances have been few.
Coming off the pitch,
They have
number
the
2,
quality,
Kayla Sager.
but
Coming
unfortunately
onto
they
the
have not
pitch,
been able to
number
put anything
30,
into the
Taylor
back of the net.
Elliott.
And we have a first substitution in the beginning of the second half, one that was entirely expected. Number 2, Kayla Sager, has been taken out of the game, replaced by number 30, Taylor Elliott. So obviously Sager came out and finished that first half, but the knee probably still clearly bothering her. And we expected Elliott to be put in at the beginning of the second half.
I'm surprised that Sager lasted the entire first half, to be completely honest with you. The way that she looked after the injury occurred, just her body language, she wanted to tough it out as much as she could for her team, but after halftime, they were able to probably take a closer look at the injury, and I guess they determined that she was not fit to continue playing into the second half of this must-win game for the Rough Riders.
And play sent back into the Rough Rider zone. Guglielmo coming way out of the box to get that ball. Snatch it away from the Lancaster striker. Kicks it into the middle of the field. Low kick. Headed it up. Taken there by Mara. Trying to advance it now. Kicking it over the far side. She has Sanchez. Knocked off the ball in the back. Still has room. Moving around back into the middle. Has Elliott.
Ooh.
High and away. Elliott right in front of the net. Had a very good chance, but could not put it in the back. Just a little wide.
But I like this. The fire that the Rough Riders are coming out for right after halftime is what they need in order to get back into this game. The entire first half was a gritty first half. Not a lot of offense. Like we've seen, there's only been one goal scored in the first 47 minutes of this game. And the Rough Riders need to show that they are the offensive juggernaut that they've shown all season. But right now, this Lancaster defense, like you said, has been nothing short of stellar. So it'll be interesting to see if the Rough Riders are able to actually put something together here in the opening seconds of the second half.
And pass right in front into the box. Kicked away by the defense. Trying to get another one through. Unable to. That one kicked in by Mara.
That's Victoria Antonio, who had the ball last for the Rough Riders. Play is going to continue on as Kimberly Morrow has the ball, tries to clear it out, and does to Taylor Groth, who keeps it on the far sideline. Finds Sanchez, who kicks it up, tries to center it, unable to do so, gets the ball back off the rebound, and Lancaster is able to clear it.
You are correct. That was Victoria Antonio, but her substitution was not announced.
That is strange.
I don't recall her being announced into the game. Do you remember if they?
No. The only substitution that was announced was that one. Here it is.
Fans, in the addition to the halftime substitution of Kayla Sager, also coming off the pitch, number 10, Sophia Sanchez. Entering the game, number 6, Victoria Antonio.
So Erica Medina was trying to make something happen, unable to do so, and Taylor Elliott sends the ball through the uprights. It's good, but doesn't count in this kind of football. It's still 1-0 in favor of Lancaster.
Elliott's had a couple of chances, one right in front of the net, one just outside the box. Overshooting her mark a couple of times now. So clearly she has to, probably a little bit amped up to get into the second half of this game, knowing what's at stake. Probably just has to calm herself down a little bit. Ball sent back, Schneider heads it right over to Svensson. Elliott going into the middle, looking for Medina. Unable to connect there, and it will be a goal kick for O'Brien. And it looks like we will have a substitution for Lancaster.
Substitution in the 51st minute for Lancaster.
The issue with that substitution is that Lancaster only has 2 people on the bench that are able to be subbed in. The third person is a goalkeeper, and if I'm the manager of Lancaster, there is no way I'm taking Kelly O'Brien out of this game.
No, absolutely not. But Tracy Moore comes off, and Abby Elkmeyer comes on. So a midfielder swap for Lancaster. And now attacking once again. Here we go. Medina looking forward. Pass trying to get it through, or maybe it was a shot on goal. Either way, wide right. This will be another goal kick for Lancaster. 5 minutes in here in the second half. Not too much action to report. Obviously, early on in the first minute of play, you had a great opportunity for the Rough Riders that they could just not capitalize on. Headed forward a couple of times. Elliott now breaks free of the defender. Moving in on the net. Taps it just in front and gets Medina right there in front. Gets taken down. And a whistle was blown. And waiting to see officially if we were going to have a free kick here.
It looks like we're going to, and the positioning of this free kick is anything but exceptional.
It is a penalty kick.
It's a penalty kick.
It is in the box.
Aha.
So, a golden opportunity here. The kick will be taken by Mara. Here we go to tie the game. And she puts it in! Lower left side of the goal. Kimberly Mara gives them a 1-1 tie so far early on in the 51st minute of play in the second half.
That was huge with capital H-U-G-N-E for the Rough Riders. That is the momentum that they needed in order to get this game back into a manageable situation for them. Maybe this will be able to wake up that offense. As you hear, captain number 5, Kimberly Morrow, is the lady to put the ball through the back of the net. That was wonderful. Looks like we're going to have another substitution for the Rough Riders. Number 8, Morgan Santoro, is coming in, and number 14, Francesca Venezia, is coming out of the game. And this is where Santoro, I feel like they needed that goal to get Santoro in to give them that offensive pressure that she brings every time she steps on the pitch.
Well, we said at the beginning of the game that we were a little shocked that both Elliott and Santoro not starting. But the way that first half went, they get the equalizing goal, and very quickly you have Elliott and Santoro in this game to try to close this out for this Rough Rider team. And Elliott causing problems in the midfield region for Lancaster has been since she's come on. A couple of deflections there. Mara, ball gets away from her. Now to Schwartz for Lancaster. Picked away there by Thompson. Couple of deflections. Mara trying to get around the defender. Pulls it back. Looking for space. Gets it to Medina. Oh, intercepted. Spoke slightly too soon. Taken away for Medina, but looks like she will not be able to get there. It will go out of bounds. It will be a throw-in for Lancaster.
It's a little unfortunate for the Rough Riders. That one went out of bounds. I'm not going to lie.
Quick throw-in from Lancaster, trying to catch the Rough Riders off guard, but passing it between them. And trying to clear it up. Medina moving in, along with Santoro. Antonio gets it to Santoro. Outside the box, knocked off. Couple of good attempts there. Lancaster with the ball now. Ball will stay in play, taken by Banner. All the way back in the Rough Rider territory, and she sends it back to Guglielmo. Guglielmo, quick pass back, and just kicks it right out of bounds. Poor play there, and it will be a throw-in now in the offensive zone for Lancaster.
Lancaster's bench has been very vocal, but in a positive way, which is something that we haven't really seen from any visiting bench so far. All the coaches are shouting a lot of positive reinforcement. It sounds like the team really loves playing with each other as we have a turnover caused by the Rough Riders, and they're pushing it hard upfield.
Santoro had to stay on sides there, so she had to slow up a bit. Has Medina moving down the center, trying to get around on the near side, unable to do so. Sliding tackle, the ball almost gets by O'Brien, but she reaches back and grabs it before it rolls into the net.
That is what Santoro brings to the pitch every time she steps on it. Like I said before, she is the heartbeat, the pulse. She is the defibrillator that the Rough Riders needed right now to get that offense pumping and going.
Defensive play of both teams still taking precedence here. Rough Riders coming in again. Schneider moving it up to Medina now. Crosses into the box. And Santoro with the header. Right past O'Brien.
I don't need to say it again, do I?
No, you really don't.
Okay.
With a beautiful cross headed directly into the back of the net by Santoro. Absolutely beautiful play. Santoro gives the Rough Riders a 2-1 lead in the 56th minute.
That I don't know how many times I can say it without sounding like a broken record. Santoro makes the blood pump in this Long Island offense. And after being down 1-0 heading into the second half, we're less than 15 minutes into the second half, and they've already got a 2-1 lead because both Elliott and Santoro are on the field for the Rough Riders. I'm almost confident in saying that's not the last goal we'll see come from the Long Island Rough Riders, because here we go once again as Medina has the ball but is forced to kick it out of bounds, but it ricochets off a Lancaster defender, and we're going to have Long Island throw in the ball once again.
Just out of reach for the Lancaster striker, and it will be a throw-in for the Long Island Rough Riders. Thompson could not corral it in time.
Substitution for Lancaster. Coming off the pitch, goalkeeper number 18, Kelly O'Brien.
Oh, wow. Kelly O'Brien is coming off the field after letting up 2 quick goals for Lancaster, and coming in her place is Jordan Camp. So we're going to get our first look at Camp today. Maybe she'll be, I guess, the spark plug for the defense.
Well, so far this season, Camp and O'Brien have actually split time fairly evenly.
Okay.
As far as their numbers, they're almost identical. O'Brien had actually had better numbers so far in the season, but their numbers as far as playing time this season is about a dead even split. But we shall see. Obviously, in the first half, O'Brien was stellar. In the second half so far, not as pristine as
It's all about those adjustments and Morgan Santoro.
Taylor Elliott, Morgan Santoro, obviously big changes coming in for the Rough Riders, and she has just not been able to keep up with them so far.
No, not at all.
And that's why, hence, we have this change. And play continues. Ball being knocked around between a couple of players right now. And Santoro chasing it down. She's the first one there. Bumped off the ball. Good defensive play by Lancaster. Good clean tackle. Sending it back up.
They need something big to happen.
Defense by Wenger once again. And here we go. Lancaster striker now. It's her turn. Banner chasing her down. Blocks her clear shot to the goal. And then Schneider with a good deflection. And Guglielmo takes it from there. Sent deep into the middle. Medina right there with a couple of Lancaster defenders. Thompson now for Lancaster. Quickly trying to get it over to the opposite side. A couple of quick attempts at a steal, and Elliott gets called for the foul. It'll be a Lancaster free kick.
This is a tale of two halves so far. We have seen hyper offense right now from Long Island, and the defense of Lancaster just hasn't been able to keep up with them so far. And even though Lancaster technically has possession of the ball, and I take that back because Long Island forces the turnover, it's all Long Island in the first 15 minutes of this half.
Nice hustle there by the Lancaster defender. Beats Medina out to the ball, kicks it back to the new goalkeeper Camp. And imperative that she did, because had Medina gotten into that ball, she had Morgan Santoro wide open in the center of the field, just outside the box. And a foul call. This time it will be a free kick for the Rough Riders. Santoro looking for Medina, just outside of her reach, and it will be chased down and actually just let go past the goal line, and Camp will have her first goal kick. Schneider taps it up and back into play. Defender getting over. Ball deflected off of the head of Morgan Santoro. Not look comfortable there. Medina on the near sideline, trying to work around the defender. However, good defense by Camp, and they have now called a free kick for Lancaster. Couple of turnovers. Lancaster in the middle of the field. Now once again deflected by the Rough Riders. Quick tap over to Schneider. Santoro now, middle of the field. Triple teamed by Lancaster defenders. They are not giving her any space right now.
I mean, the damage is already done from Santoro.
They've clearly learned their lesson. Another free kick for Lancaster, this time right at midfield. Sent over to the far side. Antonio kicks it back over. Another deflection. Crawford on the far far side, trying to make a move, gets around one defender right before it goes out of bounds, still in play. And the ball kept out, and Groff will take it there. And crisis averted. Taylor Elliott now, midfield, finds Mara. Leading up, trying to get it to Santoro. Good defender, bat knocked down, ruled. And it will be Lancaster ball.
I think that was an Oscar-worthy performance by the defender. She was length for length with Santoro, but from where we're standing, we have a pretty good view of basically everything that happens on the field. I think she knew Santoro was going to beat her, ended up tripping herself, and she sold it well enough that the referee called for the penalty.
I believe you. It looked like that for me, but at the same time, when you have another player running at their heels, it always looks like they get tripped. So can't really fault the ref for that one.
I'm not faulting the ref. I just said it was an Oscar-worthy performance.
Just the way these things usually go. Santoro again. But once again, two defenders around her at all times.
We're in the 65th minute here at St. Anthony's High School in Melville as we have an awkward kick out of bounds. We're going to have a goal kick coming from the Long Island Rough Runners and Melissa Guglielmo. I'm Eric Kravitz. He's Will Canova. It's 2-1 in favor of the Rough Riders as Guglielmo is just looking for the right spot to take her goal kick from. Looks like she's got it. Sends it towards midfield off the head of one of her own teammates. Going back and forth, and it looks like it's going to end up being corralled by number 24 of Lancaster. That's Ashley Chilcott who sends it into play. We have Lancaster pushing upfield. We have number 16, that's Crawford, who loses the ball, but it ends up in the, not the hands, I guess in the possession of Abby Eckelmeyer, who takes a shot directly at the face of Melissa Guglielmo, who makes the save. And it looks like once again, Long Island is going to have the possession as she sends it deep into Lancaster territory as they're able to come up with it. But Long Island is making a push for the ball on the far sideline. Kicked out of bounds by a Rough Rider. We're going to have a throw in for Lancaster, who does it very quickly. That is number 8, Asha Clark with the ball.
And a foul called on the Rough Riders will be a free kick for Lancaster. Don't agree with that one. They got tied up, but there was no actual contact outside of them just getting stuck for a moment.
They are great actors on Lancaster, let me tell you.
Well, no, that wasn't an acting job. I think that was just a bad decision called by the ref that time.
I still think Leo should go to them for acting coach.
And not Santoro. That was Antonio. Loses the ball for a second. Lancaster gets it. Near sideline now. That's Thompson. Has plenty of room. Crosses it into the middle. Overshoots. She was looking for McGibbon. McGibbon chasing it down. Is able to get to it before it goes out. Lancaster with an opportunity. Gets by one defender, but here comes Graf and clears it out, and it will be a throw-in for Lancaster. So the immediate crisis averted, but Lancaster showing some pressure now on offense. We're in the just about the 68th minute of play. And now Rough Riders begin to move out once again. Schneider sending it back to Banner. Rough Riders moving up on the far sideline. Elliott sends it up, but no one there to receive the pass. Camp will just take her time and retrieve it herself. Decides to pick it up. And we'll punt it back in. Camp sending it quickly back down. Santoro putting a little bit of pressure on the defender. And does, forcing Camp to kick it out herself into another defender, who then dribbles it out of play, and it will be a throw-in for the Rough Riders. Bad play by the Lancaster defense there, as they allowed Santoro to interfere with that very simple play.
Well, Santoro's all over the place. She's the best player on the field right now.
Elliott takes the ball away inside the box, crosses into middle. Medina heads it, goes wide left, unable to put it on net. Lancaster moving it forward now, looking for an opening. Lauren tips it away. Antonio gets it to Schneider. Up to Mara. Mara with a little room to run. Mara getting it up to Medina. Medina moves around one defender. Gets pulled down by the defense. Surprised there was no call. And ball sent the other way. Schneider settling it down. Has some room. Crosses over. Moves through Fuda. Great move. Puts it up into the far side of the box, trying to see if she can find Elliott. Cannot. It goes over the goal line. It will be a goal kick for Camp.
That was a beautiful series from Alexis Schneider. She was able to weave in and out of about 3 defenders on that exchange. She took a great shot, just a little bit high. But Alexis Schneider showing she could play some offense, even though she's a defenseman. Very, very versatile player.
But on that play, I thought Medina looked like she was pulled down from behind, and I'm surprised that there was no call there.
Oh, I don't disagree with that, but unfortunately, we're seeing things that these refs are not. So disheartening.
Ball taken away there by Lancaster. Near sideline. Thompson again. Moving it up. Good defensive play there by Banner. Kicks it out, and it will be a throw-in for Lancaster.
It also looks like Lancaster is getting ready for a substitution quite soon, so we'll keep you updated on that as well.
They do have one remaining. Good block there by Santoro. Couple of good challenges, but they rule a free kick for Lancaster. Probably that one by Medina.
They'll call that, but they won't call getting thrown it down by the back of your jersey.
That is correct.
I'm a little bit at a loss for words, which is not good.
And here we go. Served just outside the box. Headed it away, but settled down by Lancaster. Kicked away, but chasing after it now is Svensson, and she gets there. Gets it up to Elliott. Elliott pressure from behind. Elliott looking for Santoro. Taken away there. Cross to the far side. Free range on the goalie. Good defensive play by the Rough Riders. Waiting to see if they ruled a corner or a goal kick. It looks like it will be a goal kick. Straight kick by the striker. Good defensive play by the Rough Riders. And it results in a goal kick.
Kick gets sent in by Guglielmo, and it is fielded cleanly by Santoro, who's trying to find a teammate, and she does on the far sideline. It looks like she has Schneider over there pushing it up, gets it into the corner, but it goes out of bounds.
No, they have ruled offsides.
Oh, offsides are by Elliott. My mistake. So Elliott was just offsides, and we're going to have a kick from the goalie. And we do have a substitution happening right now. Number 14, Sarah Pavlovich, is coming in for Lancaster Inferno, and Alexandra Thompson, number 15, comes off the pitch.
Well, that does it for their 3 substitutions and the entirety of their bench today.
Exactly. Maybe that's why they only travel with bench 3 deep.
Well, probably. You can only have 3 substitutions there. So, makes perfect sense. Actually, I believe there is a 4th. I'm not 100% sure with these games.
It doesn't actually matter because they're unable to make another substitution. But we have play going on the far sideline right now.
But we are getting into the latter stages of this game. The Rough Riders hold a 2-1 lead. We are now in the 74th minute of play. And Lancaster has been mounting a little bit more offense, but they're going to have to keep ratchet it up another notch if they hope to equalize this game before we get to 90 minutes. once again, you're listening to Women's PDL Soccer right here on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network. Lancaster Inferno, Long Island Rough Riders. Long Island leads 2-1.
But Santoro looks like she might have another opportunity on a goal, and she does not. Played very well by the goal. I mean, by the defense. She was double teamed. Ball goes out of bounds off the foot of a Lancaster Inferno player. We're going to have a corner kick for the Rough Riders.
Well, it'll be a throw-in.
Throw, my mistake.
It almost a good tap pass. Thought Medina was going to come around. She did. Unfortunately, the pass went just high and was unable to connect.
Substitution
throwing.
being made for the Long Island Rough Riders.
We have a substitution. Number 17, Christine
Medina.
Bellico comes in for number 18, Erica Medina. So do you think the Rough Riders are going to be comfortable with this lead as an amazing save is made by Camp?
I think they're perfectly fine and comfortable with the 2-1 lead. They still are applying more of the pressure than Lancaster is right now. And as long as they can keep most of the play, as long as they keep most of the play in the offensive zone, they have nothing to worry about. And that's mostly where they've sat. The one thing they can't analyze, the thing you'll notice now compared to earlier on in the game, is you have most of the Rough Riders playing aggressively up in the box like they have been, except they are leaving 3 defenders all the way back to avoid that counterattack that you saw Lancaster score their lone goal on in the end of the first half. So the defenders are staying back, protecting against that, but everyone else is up aggressively. And Banner now all the way back to retrieve the ball, waiting for an opening, waiting to see how it plays. Played beautifully, and it results in a goal kick. Ball sent up, tapped away by Schneider.
That was an excellent attempt at a slide tackle by Alexis Schneider, but she just got schooled by the Lancaster Inferno player.
Sent up now, Crawford. Surrounded by 3 Rough Rider defenders, unable to get anything going. Ball sent forward, Christina Bellero, newly inserted into the game. Tapped away, though. Lancaster moving up, realizing they are running out of time. Just shy of 15 minutes left in regulation. They're going to have to stop playing in that more defensive mode that they have been this entire game. Worked very well in the first half, but a penalty kick and a wonderful header by Morgan Santoro have put them behind, and I do not think they can keep up this defensive style for much longer, trailing 2-1.
Well, we said it at the beginning of the half, right when the Rough Riders came out like a ball of fire. Within the first minute and a half of play, they had 2 shots on goal. They made some adjustments at halftime to sort of sneak through the defensive style that Lancaster had been playing.
And a penalty halts the Rough Rider advance, as it will be a free kick for Lancaster.
So Lancaster really didn't make any halftime adjustments. They saw what they were doing was working, and they figured, hey, let's stay the course. Maybe we'll end up winning. And the Rough Riders were able to make the changes they needed to make. A penalty kick and an amazing header by Santoro later. Like you said, they are down 2-1. So we saw that the defensive style they were playing would only work so much. And we knew that this was going to happen, basically. I'm a little surprised that they didn't make any adjustments and they're continuing to play the style of game that they are instead of making adjustments on the fly. Not going to lie to you, as a beautiful defensive play there by Alexis Schneider.
For the most part, their game has held up in the second half, and they really didn't need to make many changes to what they were doing. However, they were ill prepared for the adjustments, not necessarily in style of play by the Rough Riders, but the insertion of Elliott and Santoro in the second half has made a load of difference in the offensive pressure.
So my question to you is then this. We get to see Santoro and Elliott week in and week out, but only from an observatory standpoint. Lancaster has tape of Santoro, tape of Elliott. They know what they're capable of. I'm sure they didn't anticipate them.
And goes just wide of the net, and Camp lets it go, and it will be a goal kick for Lancaster.
I'm sure Lancaster didn't anticipate both of them coming in off the bench, but you would think that they would have some sort of safeguard in place for both of those players, no?
Not necessarily. I think at that point it's just fresh legs versus tired legs. And like we also said, the Lancaster bench not completely full today. Only 3 substitutes. All have been used at this point. But in the beginning of the second half, when you have purely fresh legs and they're the quality of an Elliott and a Santoro, I think that makes all the difference.
I'm not going to sit here and disagree with you about the fresh-leggedness of both Santoro and Elliott, but I will disagree in saying that Lancaster knows the caliber of players that they are,
And here's Bolero on the run on the near side.
and they should have had some safeguards in place for them.
Moving around a defender. Great stop first time. Good defense by Lancaster. Now Elliott comes over, gets by, has a little space. Pressure by the Lancaster defense. He keeps moving down the sideline, unable to get there. And last touch by Lancaster, and it will be a corner kick, it looks like.
That's going to be Lawford who
Nope,
throws it in.
Knocked out. It will be a throw-in. And now Schneider has it. Schneider looking for an opening. Knocked out. And this time it does go off the back wall, and it will be a corner kick this time. So right here, just over 80 minutes in now. Corner kick for the Rough Riders, and if they could somehow convert on this set piece, a commanding 3-1 lead with 10 minutes to go will pretty much seal this game.
But instead they just get it over to Santoro, who's standing about 3 feet away.
With plenty of room, knocked off the defense. Santoro in the box, gets tripped up, and a foul called, and we will have another penalty kick for the Rough Riders.
The fan of the away team doesn't seem too happy about that, but it was pretty blatant that Santoro was shoved from behind on her way to attempting her second goal.
So it looks like Santoro will take this kick for herself. Actually, no, my mistake. It will be Mara once again taking the kick. Mara 1 for 1 today. Let's see if she can add another one. And she puts it in. Another goal, 2 penalty shot goals in this game for Kimberly Mara. Puts it right in on the lower right, had Camp completely confused. And a 3-1 commanding lead at this point with less than 10 minutes to go for the Rough Riders.
I think it's safe to say it is over. Kimberly Mara, the captain, once again. That's probably why she ended up taking the penalty kick. Puts it away, and I'm going to say it right now, sends the Long Island Lady Rough Riders to the playoffs in the PDL. That was probably the biggest goal of the season for the Rough Riders. A 2-1 lead, while nice, is very easily remedied, but with only 7.5 minutes left of regular play, not including stoppage time, a 3-1 lead just seems a little bit too insurmountable of a lead to come back, especially the way that this offense for Lancaster has been, well, has not been playing, because they really haven't had too many great offensive chances except for the one that they converted on in the late first half. So I'm going to go ahead and say that's all she wrote right now.
But not over yet. We have just about 7 minutes of regulation, then whatever stoppage time the ref deems necessary. So probably about 8 to 10 minutes left of actual play here. So nothing official yet, but a 3-1 lead this late in the game looks all positive for the Rough Riders. Goal kick sent back in, deflected away. Elliott with a hard pass, Mara trying to chase it down, gets tripped up, and they actually rule that a free kick for Lancaster. And Lancaster with the free kick, they have to take advantage of some of these free kicks to get in good position because they do not have enough time to play around any longer. Ball going around, Erlmeyer trying to get to it. Could not, take it away once again by the Rough Riders. Santoro all the way back, weaving through, over to Graff. Valero just taking time, controlling the ball, stays inbounds, and eventually rolls out for another Lancaster throw-in. And it looks like all ball control right now is what the Rough Riders are looking for. They have Valero on the far side, but the ball gets just by her, and it will be a throw-in now on the near side, right in front of us for Lancaster. Missed opportunity there. Valero had plenty of room in front of her.
She just mistimed her step to get to the ball. That's basically exactly what happened. As once again, Lancaster turns the ball over to the Rough Riders as number 16, Katie Loughran, has the ball and is going to throw it in. Waste as much time off the clock as she can with a little over 5 minutes left as Christine Bellero turns the ball over to Lancaster. And Ashley Chilcott turns the ball over to the Rough Riders. And here we go once again.
Antonio looking for Mara. Ball gets by. Back into Lancaster possession. Crawford again trying to lead, but it looks like, yep, she looks like she was offsides. And that would explain why she stopped running. Because from my perception, she was onside. Yes, she was just off. But it looked like the striker just stopped running for whatever reason. Did not make much sense. Now a little clarification.
Some good perspective there as we're going to have what looks like a throw-in. There's a free kick, my mistake.
Ball deflected. Elliott trying to corral it, unable to. Taken now by Lancaster, and it was last touched by Elliott, so it will be another Lancaster throw-in. Far sideline, right at midfield, quick throw-in. Lancaster trying to find any opening they can to try to put in a late goal here to even get close. Ball sent over to Chilcote. Now over to Schwartz. Crawford trying to move around a couple of defenders. Does. Ball at the top of the box and cleared out by the Rough Riders. Elliott chasing the ball down, fighting off a defender. Elliott moving around, getting ahead. Elliott still with possession. High kick over and hits the crossbar of the goal of the field goal box ahead of the goal. It will be a goal kick for Camp. Another good chance for Elliott, but once again, she has been just high all day long with her shots. Luckily, it does not hurt these Rough Riders at all as they still hold a 3-1 lead now in just about the 87th minute. So time is of the essence if Lancaster wants a chance to try to equalize this game quickly.
And I'm glad the Rough Riders are still showing some fight. Excuse me. Yeah, there's less than 3 minutes right now, but they want to show the rest of the Lady PDL that they're going to be a team to be reckoned with in the playoffs once they start to play, as the Rough Riders just clear the ball out of their zone to Elliott at midfield. So I'm really glad to see a lot of chemistry with the Rough Riders right now. They haven't completely and they're not throwing in the towel, but they haven't given up on the gas.
No, absolutely. And throwing in the towel, not what they're doing, but they are playing keep away. They are sending it deep down and letting Lancaster retrieve the ball on their own. But when they have a chance, they're still taking it. And Elliott, once again, opportunity here, can't get to that one. Still last touch, went right through Elliott's legs. Last touch by Lancaster. So they will be a Rough Rider throw-in. 88 minutes in now, just 2 minutes left. And a good shot, but goes wide left and will be a goal kick for Lancaster. Camp trying to hurry up.
With only 1:40 left of regulation, they really, really have to try to get moving if they want to cut this lead to at least one.
And Mara dribbling around, keeping possession, and finds Santoro right in front, but they rule it in offsides for Santoro, and it will be another free kick heading the other way.
How do you feel about that call?
I couldn't tell from our vantage point whether it was an offsides or not, but at this point, the offsides have been relatively
I mean,
solid.
it literally does not matter, as there is less than a minute left of regulation, and there has been barely any stoppage to this period. So unless something drastic happens, we're going to have a minute, maybe two of stoppage time. As right now, Long Island is just playing keep away.
And Lancaster played a valiant game, especially in the first half. Very different than what we were anticipating. Solid defensive effort, and obviously led 1-0 at the half. But in the second half, the offensive potential of the Rough Riders came to fruition. A couple of big substitutions, Taylor Elliott, Morgan Santoro coming into the game.
We can't forget,
couple of
yeah.
penalty kicks put in by Kimberly Morrow, the captain of this team.
Yeah, Kim Morrow and Morgan Santoro really were the backbone of the offense today, as we are officially headed into stoppage time right now. So the game is essentially over, and this is all a formality the next couple of minutes of stoppage time, which will be kept on the field by the refs. But I really don't know where they're going to get any more than a minute of stoppage from.
No, it was a very quick half. No cards issued, no big injuries, so there is very little time. Just probably the time it took to reset after all the Rough Rider goals here in the second half. A second half which featured 3 total goals, 2 by penalty kicks, 1 header by Morgan Santoro, and nothing offensively going in the second half for the Lancaster Infernos. A half that was completely dominated by the Rough Riders as they look to win this game by a score of 3-1, should nothing else change in the next couple of seconds here. And as we say, there should not be much more stoppage time. The ref continues to not blow his whistle. We're trying to figure out where the time is coming from. No official number has been announced as of yet.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have entered stoppage time.
Santoro dribbling around. Rough Riders just moving the ball, not eagerly trying to do very much of anything. Everyone kind of knows it's a formality at this point. And nope, just an offsides whistle. Not the official whistle.
Where are they getting this time from?
Not sure, actually.
I think they have extra pockets full of time, these refs. Because we said this incredibly. There it is. I spoke just a little bit too soon.
He had just enough for your comment.
Yep, that most important thing.
But as we sit here right now, the Long Island Lady Rough Riders win this one against the Lancaster Inferno with a score of 3-1. And with that 3-1 decision, they have forced their way into the playoffs. And we will look forward to that playoff run for them over the coming weeks. So their season is now complete. But their second
The
season
regular
begins
season is there.
next week.
There you go. The MVPs of this game are, of course, Kim Morrow and Morgan Santoro. And I'll give an honorable mention to Melissa Guglielmo, who was pretty good in goal today for the Rough Riders. Before Morgan Santoro happened, Kelly O'Brien was incredible in goal. Unfortunately, you paid 90 minutes of soccer, not 45. And for the first 45, she was nothing short of sensational. But again, like I said, Morgan Santoro happened, and that was thrown out the window. Honorable mention to Elizabeth Wenger, number 4 defense of the Lancaster Inferno, who played arguably the best out of anybody on their team. So once again, the final score, your Long Island Lady Rough Riders 3 headed into the playoffs, beating the Lancaster Inferno, who were only able to muster 1 goal. But stay with us here on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network, because in about a half an hour, we are going to bring you some men's PDL action, as we are going to carry the men's Rough Riders game right here on these airwaves. So do yourself a favor, do me a favor, don't go anywhere.
Absolutely not. That game will be coming up shortly. The men's team, the Long Island men's Rough Riders, against the Western Mass Pioneers, coming up shortly right here on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network.
both teams, presented by NYU Winthrop, the official sports medicine provider for the Rough Riders. First, for the visiting team, the Western Mass Pioneers. In goal, number 1, Ben Martinez. Number 13, Lash Orland. Number 16, Matt Moore. Number 24, Ben Lamb. Number 14, Daniel Fabian. Number 4, Carlos Ruiz. Number 18, Pierre Villes. Number 21, Guillermo Rodriguez. Number 12, Daniel Rivera. Number 15, Charles Gelly. And number 23, Pat Boucher. The head coach of the Western Mass Pioneers is Federico Molinari. The assistant coaches are Dennis Gomes and Jay Willis. Okay, Rough Riders fans, now let's make some noise for your 2017 Long Island Rough Riders. In goal, number 22, Dylan Castanera. On defense, number 5, Thomas Warp. Number 4, Andre Morrison. Number 3, Jeffrey Medina. And number 18, Glenn Reed. In the midfield, number 6, Sean Foster. Number 7, Thomas Sachecki. Number 10, Colin Murphy. Number 23, Justin Carfora. Number 8, Daniel Bedoya. And at the forward position, number 9, Arthur Boshua. The head coach and general manager of the Rough Riders is Flavio Ferri. The assistant coach is Sergio Valencia. The team manager is Terrence Hines, and the sports performance coach is Steve Gourlay. The Rough Riders team position is Dr. Rebecca Wong, and the athletic trainer is Maddie Manu.
Welcome back to Melville, New York. We are here for the men's game this time. Once again, I'm Will Canova. Alongside me is Eric Craven, and we are here bringing you PDL Soccer. Final matchup of the season between Long Island Rough Riders and the Western Mass Pioneers. Long Island Rough Riders, right here on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network, fell to these exact Western Mass Pioneers 3-0 just 2 weeks ago, looking for a little revenge here today.
I think they're going to find it. The Rough Riders firmly in a playoff position. They're second seeded in their division, no possibility of getting first place. But that doesn't mean they want to stumble into the playoffs. They want to make a strong showing today, show the rest of the PDL that they are no team to be reckoned with, as I'm sure they want to be able to, excuse me, I can't hear myself over the music. They want to show that they are the team to beat in the division.
And here we go, as just a reminder, the Long Island Rough Riders are an affiliate of NYCFC, of the MLS. As we begin play here today, starting lineups
So today for the Rough Riders, we have Dylan Castanera in goal. Your starting defensemen are Thomas Wharf, team leader, captain, and bus driver Andre Morrison. Jeffrey Medina and Glenn Reed rounds out the defensemen. In the midfield, you have Sean Foster, Thomas Zachecki, Colin Murphy, Justin Carfora, and Daniel Bedoya. And the lone starting forward for the Rough Riders is Arthur Bosa.
And corner kick right off the get-go. Deflected right in front of the net, goes wide right, and quick action for the Western Mass Pioneers as a near goal within the first minute of play here.
Coming out like a ball of fire. And speaking of the Pioneers in goal today, they have Ben Martinez. They have Orlik Lass, Matt Moore, Ben Lamb, and Daniel Fabian as defensemen. In the midfield, they have Carlos Ruiz, Pierre Velez, Guillermo Rodriguez, Daniel Rivera, and Charles Goulet. And Pat Boucher is their lone starting forward.
So obviously a quick strike attempt for the Pioneers. And now the Rough Riders try to set it down. Foster in the middle of the field. Busa coming back on defense to help out. Taken now by the Pioneers. Played back to the keeper, Martinez. Good play there by the defense. Knocked out of bounds and will be a Pioneer throw-in right around midfield on the far sideline.
So the Western Mass Pioneers are only 1 point behind the Long Island Rough Riders in the standings. So I'm fairly certain if they win this game, they are in the playoffs. So the Western Mass Pioneers have a lot to play for today. Let's see if the Rough Riders are able to put a halt to their playoff dreams.
And now Busa over to the near sideline. That's Suchecki. Suchecki looking for a way to cross. Good defensive play there. Taken away by the Pioneers. Pioneers moving forward now. Good defensive play by Morrison, playing extremely aggressively. Carfora aiding him. Looking for an opening. Suchecki trying to put some pressure on. Ball does not get through. Murphy deflected off his foot. Goes over to Matthew Moore for the Pioneers. Far sideline now. Quick shot just wide right of the net. Goes to the back.
That is about 3 minutes of play in the first half and already 2 excellent attempts on goal for the Pioneers. So the Rough Riders really need to get their defense in order.
That will be a goal kick for Castanera. Headed a couple of times, has not touched the ground just yet, but that last one will head out of bounds. And it will be a throw-in. Carfora now trying to put pressure on. Pioneers creating some space. Ruiz now with the ball for the Pioneers. And they did finally rule that he went out of bounds and it will be a throw-in for the Rough Riders.
That was a pretty late call. Even from up here, we were able to see clearly the ball went on the other side of the line. That should have been called out of bounds a few seconds beforehand.
Over to Medina now. Back to Morrison. Over to Wharf. Foster now looking for an opening in the defense. All the way back to Morrison. Got a lot of room in front of him. Kicks it all the way over to the far side. Trying to lead pass. Does not get through. Cleared away by the defense. And that was Benjamin Lamb with the clear. Foster gets it all the way back to Morrison. Morrison right at midfield. Finds Murphy. Wharf now. Over to Reed. Murphy in the middle. A lot of pressure from the Pioneers. Not a lot of room to operate. Carfor sends it back to Wharf again. Medina sending it up. Up to Bedoya. And a foul called will be Pioneers free kick. So far, a lot of passing in between the defensive players for the Rough Riders, but not a lot of chances to move through and up into attack mode. Very good space.
This game has been Pioneers the entire game, been able to clog the passing lanes very well. And as I say that, the Rough Riders almost looked to have an opportunity on offense, but the ball was immediately taken away by the Pioneers, who looked to try to start the scoring in this game as the ball gets sent deep into Rough Rider territory.
And a little bit of a miscommunication there between Morrison and Castanera. Castanera had a opposing striker right in front of his face as he tried to pass away that ball. Wharf now, looking for room, gets it over to Morrison again. In the 7th minute now, so far early play, going to the Pioneers. Overshoots Busa. Taken there by Martinez. Martinez taking his time. Eventually will pick up the ball. Trying to look for a play over the top. Cannot get it. Bedoya trying to settle it down. He cannot. Right now, early on in this match, a foul called, but not much contact there. Kind of took the feet out from under him.
He tried to make a clean slide on the ball, sort of just cut his legs out from underneath him. I can see why that one was called after being corrected from the women's game today, who ended up winning 3-1. We carried that on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network as well. So if you missed that, you missed one heck of a game. But we're glad you decided to join us for the men's game today.
Pioneers certainly look much faster early on. Orlick passing it up to Rodriguez. Pioneers looking for a call. Do not get one. Ball now in the hands of Velez. Velez moving it up to the far side. Cross into the box now. Rodriguez looking for a play. And a very strong kick there. Sadly, it goes high and above the net. So it'll be a goal kick for Castanera. Bedoya now at midfield, looking for an opening. Finds one. Has Busa on the far sideline, trying to shake a defender. Creates a little bit of space. Not much room there. Eventually gets kicked out, but it will be a throw-in on the far sideline. Carfora gets it back to Foster. Foster putting it into the box. Knocked away. Wharf sends it back in. Murphy. Suchecki. Murphy now leading Suchecki. Suchecki on the sideline. Crossing into the box. Knocked away by the defense. Morrison chasing the ball down. Knocks it away. Good play by Reed. Murphy all the way back to Morrison. Morrison will settle it down there. Good sequence right there overall. A chance on net, good defensive play right in front. Reed now on the far sideline. Trying to get out to Carfora, but it's deflected away once again by the Pioneers.
Guillermo Rodriguez for the Pioneers was knocked down in the box. He was clutching his leg for a good minute and a half when completely unnoticed by the referees. So maybe he was playing pretend. He's up now. He's running. He's limping a little bit. But more importantly than all that, his coach looks furious. They really wanted to call there, couldn't get it, and he still looks like he's trying to stretch out his leg. I think the refs missed a call on that one.
Well, sometimes you can get hurt and it not always possible. Morrison, another header out of the way. Ruiz trying to settle it down. Carfora chopped up. Carfora now trying to cut through the defense, but surrounded by Pioneers, unable to get it through. There's Rodriguez again. Looks to be okay. Over to Moore. Sending it back to Ruiz. Ruiz to Rodriguez. Rodriguez gets a cut by a couple of defenders, but kicks it right to Foster. Deflected back. Medina now sends it over to Bedoya. Bedoya with some space in front of him. Gets it to Sucheki. Bedoya looking for an opening, cannot find one. Gets it all the way back to Morrison, who sends it over to Wharf. Murphy in the middle of the field trying to organize his team a little bit. Murphy gets it up to Sucheki. Good defensive play there, stepping in front of the pass intended for Busa. Murphy now. Collision. Everyone seems to be okay. Moore gets it all the way over to his defense on the far side. Early on in this game, the Pioneers seem just a little bit faster, a little bit more aggressive than the Rough Riders. They have a little bit more space to work with, and they're making the most of it so far. Rodriguez, a through pass now. On the near side, deflected out of play, and waiting for the official call. And it will be a corner kick. And everyone clearly upset with the refs.
Worf giving him a piece of his mind. I think you're using the word friendly very loosely here. But I will agree with you on one thing. The Pioneers are outclassing the Rough Riders in every way possible right now on the offensive side of the ball. The Pioneers haven't really been tested defensively as the corner kick gets sent far beyond everybody. And there's a stoppage of play for some reason.
The ball went over everybody, but it looks like there was a foul called in the box, so it will be a Rough Rider kick.
So up until then, well, including then, I should say, the Rough Riders defense has been incredibly busy. The Pioneers have had all of the offensive momentum from out of the get-go today.
And there, a bad pass deflected away. Centered is into the box, looking for the header. Collision does not get it, and the ref has issued a whistle, and
Sean Foster is down.
Head-to-head contact with the Pioneers player. It looks like it was Charles Guelli. Foster just taking a moment to collect himself. That probably could not have felt very good at all. But Foster is up, he's back in the play, and Castanero is waiting on the kick. In the 15th minute now. 0-0 score so far. Good action to this point.
The Rough Riders are still struggling to find some offense as the defense of the Pioneers is once again able to force a turnover.
Looking deep down the field, misses his intended target, Guelli. Morrison will settle it down, and they'll look to attack once again.
Morrison gets it over to Foster right now. He's trying to find an open man, but finds Morrison right next to him, who just gets it right back to Foster, who tries to push it up. Sent back and forth at this point. Very little offense to speak of.
It seems like the Pioneers, offensively and defensively, are taking chances.
They're paying off.
But not reckless chances. They're willing to take chances, but they always seem to be in a good position to take those chances.
Well, from what I've seen, every defensive player is backed up by somebody else within a very close proximity to them. And I think that's what makes all the chances they're making so successful, I suppose is the correct word. The Rough Riders are struggling for offense here as a kick gets sent into the box and deflected once again by the Pioneers.
Pioneers have some space now. Here's Ruiz. Good slide tackle by Carfora, starting a quick turnaround. Foster on the near sideline, tries to cross it in, gets deflected, and he will just let it roll out, and we will have a corner kick for the Rough Riders. And Thomas Worf is clearly upset with his teammates. A little communication there between the defenders.
Would you call those words friendly too?
Aggressively friendly.
There you go.
And Bedoya taking his rightful place as the centerpiece kicker. Watch out for Morrison. He's deadly on these headers into the box. Ball's up. And looks like Busa got a shot through. Looking for a call of some kind.
Busa got the shot through, but it actually deflected off of Morrison, which is why he sort of just shook his head in disgust, because if Morrison wasn't in the way, there's a really good chance that ball would have gone through for a goal.
So it seems like the Rough Riders a little out of sorts, a little miscommunication here and there, but it was ruled a foul. We will have another free kick in the corner, so Bedoya will take this again. And here we go. Bedoya's service, short kick, deflected right away very quickly. Rodriguez now. Medina gets it to Sucheki. That's Murphy, not Sucheki, but he gets taken down from behind, and there's no foul called after the trip from behind.
There are a lot of lenient non-calls happening right now. I think the refs are aware of how important this game is to both teams, and they're just going to let them play.
And as we talk right there, Medina gets the ball under his foot, steps out of bounds, and therefore it will be a throw-in for the Pioneers. Rodriguez now looking for an opening to get it to Guella. Now it will be a throw-in for the Rough Riders. They do. Foster over to Medina. Back to Worf, over to Morrison. Medina, a lot of space in front of him, looking for an opening to try to get it to one of his strikers. Cannot. Gets back to Foster and over to Morrison once again. Morrison dribbling up, looking for a little bit of space. Trying to find man on the far side. Does. Gets a man in deep. Here comes Murphy trying to get it into the box. A weak kick. Gets right back to him. Busa now with a little bit of room. Bedoya. Quick shot, goes wide left, and we will have a goal kick from Martinez.
It's about time the Rough Riders at least had an attempt on goal. The defense for the Pioneers has been lights out within the first 20 minutes of this game. We're still scoreless. I'm a little surprised because the Pioneers have dominated both sides of the ball today.
Well, the first 10 minutes, yes. The last 10 minutes, I believe, has belonged to the Rough Riders. At least they've quelled the immense pressure they faced early on in this game. It is now being played fairly defensively and very physically so far for both teams. And Sucheki onside, at least for right now, and there it is. They have ruled him offsides. It looked a little close. They had ruled him onsides initially, but then the flag was raised. So it'll be a free kick this time for the Pioneers. Sucheki colliding with Carfora. Little miscommunication on presence there. Bedoya on the far side now, trying to get it to Busa. Busa slide tackle from behind, taken down. Tried to slip it through to Sucheki, knocked away there. Sent all the way back to Wharf, and the Rough Riders will reset once again. So the Rough Riders trying to force the envelope a little bit, looking for Busa, gets it to him, and they have ruled an offsides.
I think they called it a handball. I don't think he was definitely not offsides because there was a defender in front of him.
Well, that's exactly the point. He ran. It looked to me like it should have been fine because he ran behind him after the ball was in the air, but it didn't look like it hit his shoulder either. So I'm not sure which call it would have been.
That's strange. I know he pointed to his shoulder, trying to indicate that it hit off his shoulder and not his arm. So that's what led. That's what I think. Yeah, that's what I think it was a handball.
Ball gets behind the defenders. Morrison quickly over there to clean up. Bedoya now trying to shake a defender. Good play by the Pioneers. The Pioneers controlling right now. Gwelly and Moore get it to Rodriguez. Over to Gwelly on the far side. Gwelly makes a move and is tripped in the box, and we will have a penalty kick for the Pioneers.
It's a little unfortunate, but it was a blatant penalty, and a yellow card has been issued. We have to keep that in mind as well. So the penalty kick is about to be taken by, it looks like, number 4, Carlos Ruiz for the Pioneers. He's leading the team in goals right now with 5.
Still waiting on the official yellow card results. But Ruiz here to take the kick for the Pioneers to give them an early 1-0 lead. And he does. He puts it right behind Castanera on the left side. A good strike, and Ruiz does give the Pioneers that 1-0 lead.
It's a little heartbreaking for the Rough Riders to give up a goal, a penalty kick like that, especially when Castanera was completely fooled. But they need to be realistic about it. It's only 1 goal. It's only a 1-goal lead right now. There are still 65 minutes left in this game. There's still plenty of time to come back from this deficit, but they need to keep the lead manageable. They could not let up any more goals if they want to go into the playoffs looking strong. And I'm pretty sure they don't want to face Western Mass in the playoffs, so eliminating them from contention right now is probably in their best interest as play continues here. As we have somebody get knocked down, we have a penalty. The player to get knocked down was Justin Carfora, number 23 for the Rough Riders. I'm struggling to see whether it happened in the box. It looked to be on the border, so I'm not entirely sure how they're going to call it. It's just outside the box. It was going to be a free kick, maybe 2 yards away. So the placement of the penalty, while it's a penalty, could have gone a little bit more favorably for the Rough Riders.
Well, like you said, about 2 yards away, and it's another penalty kick to try to get an easier equalizer. At this point, trailing 1-0, we're in the 25th minute, and Bedoya has a clear shot directly on net, or could go for a quick deflection off of a couple of his teammates. Puts it into the box, and Busa trying to get a deflection. He cannot get a clean one. Goes past the baseline, and it will be a goal kick for Martinez. So a good chance there. Unfortunately, not as good as it could have been.
That was a poor deflection off like a Busa. I'm not going to lie. to you there. He was a little bit contorted, a little bit twisted. He had to turn behind himself. He got the kick with the wrong leg. Everything that could have gone wrong, barring injury, went wrong on that free kick.
Pressured heavily from behind. That probably had a factor in it. But at this point, the Rough Riders just a step behind the Pioneers every time they try to make a move at this point. Bedoya going up, gets it to Busa. Busa with a little bit of space, trying to get cut off. Gets around his defender. He has Sucheki on the far side. Looks to get it. Martinez knocks it down in front of the net. And a great
What I was about to say, what a beautiful save by Martinez. Busa had a man wide open on the right side of the net. All he had to do was get it to him comfortably, and Martinez made an incredible sliding dive in front of the goal to prevent the pass, made the save, and they still have their 1-0 lead here going into the 26th minute.
A little surprised there that it seemed like everyone read the play that he was going on the ground through the zone to try to find Sucheki on the far side. Probably would have had actually a better shot if just trying to put it up and high in on the net. Ball quickly back to Castanera, sends it over to Worf, and now Morrison. Morrison playing with the yellow card now. He is the one that was assessed that penalty. So something to keep an eye on. He will have to be extremely careful moving forward. Another yellow card, and not only do the Rough Riders lose one of their best players, Andre Morrison, they will be forced to play the remainder of the game down a man, which is already a daunting task considering that they are down early 1-0. Morrison with space. Murphy trying to get it to Sucheki. Murphy keeps it in bounds and then is tackled out of bounds. A blatant tackle. And a yellow card has been issued to the Pioneers.
That's number 13, Lasse Orlik, who was immediately met by a shoulder from Murphy of his own. And the coach of the Rough Riders, and I tend to be in agreement with him, how is that not a red card? It was arguably it was probably the most blatant penalty I've seen since we started doing this. I'm really confused as to how that's not a red. He should be taken off the field immediately.
Number 13, Lasse Orlik in the 28th minute.
And if you see clearly, he got around him. He had no chance at the ball, and he literally shoved him with his shoulder out of bounds, and that should have most definitely been a red card, not involved in the play at all, in my opinion. Yellow card, at the very least, was necessary.
Well, the yellow card was assessed.
Right. Services the box. A bad kick by Bedoya. Hit right by the defense. Bedoya not having the best day so far with his kicks, and he usually is the prime setup piece mover for these Rough Riders. Well, a good play by Medina, sending it back. Ball staying high in the air.
That was a great play by Rodriguez to keep that ball in.
Rodriguez gets around a couple of defenders. Everyone back now. Not a lot of room. Tripped up. And a penalty on the Rough Riders. So it'll be a free kick for Rodriguez. And now an injury for the Rough Riders. They're calling the trainer out. Did not see who went down. Waiting to get a better view. But grabbing at his knee.
This has been an incredibly sloppy first half for the Rough Riders. The defense looks like they're playing half asleep right now.
I don't know about half asleep, but they definitely are a step slower. I just kind of feel like it seems like the Pioneers want it just a little bit more. And we have a man limping. I have not seen who it is just yet, but limping off the field, being carried, helped by a teammate. So odds are we are going to have a substitution momentarily.
With the yellow card already assessed to the Rough Riders, that's pretty devastating.
And that was Glenn Reed, the defenseman. So we will see a defensive substitute in for Reed. Probably expected to be Matthew Sloan. But here now, Moore sending it over to the far side, pushing the back, and a foul has been called. Bedoya with it now. Moore trying to chase him down. Bedoya with some space. Good move there. Good move to get around two people. to Foster now. Carrefour. Back in the middle to Bedoya. Up to Murphy. Murphy with Sucheki. Sucheki with a through pass. Sucheki trying to cross it over to get it to Busa. Unfortunately, could not connect on that pass, and it rolls out of bounds.
I think somebody was supposed to be on the right side of the net to corral that pass in to take a shot. I think there was just very poor communication.
Well, typically, yes, but right now, playing down a man, probably playing a little bit further back, a more defensive set until the replacement for Reed returns to the court. It looks like we have a timeout called. Water break.
It is incredibly hot today here in Melville. Make sure you get your water. Make sure you put on your sunscreen.
Yes, no heat strokes today.
Hopefully not.
So, quick break in the action. Once again, this is PDL Soccer between your Long Island Rough Riders and the Western Mass Pioneers right here on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network from Melville, Long Island. It's a beautiful day here. Earlier broadcast, we had the Lady Rough Riders with a comeback 3-1 victory in their matchup against the Lancaster Infernos to clinch a playoff berth. The male Rough Rider team hoping to do the same today to secure a better spot in the playoffs. But right now they trail 1-0 in the 32nd minute of play and definitely need to up their game because right now Western Massachusetts had the better of the play here in the first half. And now we're just about ready for play to continue.
Substitution in the 33rd minute for the Rough Riders. Coming off the pitch, number 18, Glenn Reed. Coming onto the pitch, number 16, Dylan Nealis in the 33rd minute.
So Dylan Nealis comes on to replace Glenn Reed, a midfielder for a defenseman. So right now the Rough Riders only playing with 3 defense, but based on the way we've seen the play so far, they probably need a little bit more offensive help.
Which makes perfect sense at this point. They've been outclassed at literally every step today.
Busa getting around his defender, trying to get through, goes to the ground. Nealis now on the near side. Rodriguez again, moving very quickly, making a couple guys miss. Morrison coming up in the play, shaking a couple of defenders, but then slows it down once again. At this point, you just have got to take away the momentum of the Pioneers. Anytime they get a little bit of space, they begin to run, and it seems like the Rough Riders are having a tough time slowing them down right now.
Well, you said it a little bit earlier on. It looks like the Rough Riders, were caught napping at the beginning of the half, and they haven't been able to catch up since. It's been all Pioneers all day so far.
Well, kept in play by Nealis. Sucheki now going after the ball. Nealis once again, intercept, but no one there to pick it up. And now Rodriguez with a clear line of sight on the goal. He's got Guella on it. Rodriguez moving in, good deflection, good save by Castanera. And now quickly Carrefour moving out. Carrefour gets it to Sucheki, deflected away, and that slows down the Rough Rider attempt. And you had Bedoya wide open with no one around him on the far side.
I think after Sucheki had the ball, he was going to try to poke it over to Bedoya to try to actually convert that chance. But the defense of the Pioneers is just too good right now.
Could not get it there cleanly. Morrison now, once again. Taken by
Hey
deflected
fans,
back.
don't forget to enter the Teddy Set Throw halftime contest. Purchase a Rough Rider hacky sack for just $1 and be the closest to the target to win a brand new 2017 Rough Riders soccer ball.
The Rough
To
Riders
enter the
have actually
contest
had a
and for
good
more
amount of time
information,
of
visit
possession
the
in
Rough
this
Riders
game,
merchandise
but
booth.
their chances have not been quality chances. There have been turnovers or shoddy passes at times. So they've possessed the ball, but they have just not found a solid way through the defense.
It's very unfortunate. The Rough Riders that we've seen leading up to today were always, well, not were, they still are. They're always very offensive. They had going into this game the best differential when it came to goals scored versus goals allowed. But it looks like the Pioneers have had their number all day long.
And trying to find a through pass to Bedoya, but that pass goes awry through everybody. Picked up by Martinez. Martinez taking his time, no rush for him. Strong kick. Martinez has a great leg on him, I gotta tell you.
Yeah, I traveled about 70 yards.
But here comes Rodriguez again. Drops it back to Rivera. And good tackle on the ball. Murphy now coming up from behind him. Taken down from behind by Rivera. Ball still played, and now we have more. Getting it up to Fabian. And ruled last touch by the Rough Riders, so we will have a throw-in for the Pioneers. Far sideline. And right now the defense of the Rough Riders will be tested. Rivera. All the way back to Lamb. Defenseman sending it across to Orlick. And all the way back to the keeper Martinez.
Who's playing incredibly up, way beyond the box. And I've said it in the past, I hate when goaltenders do that. I hate when goalkeepers do that. It leaves the goal, in this particular situation, there are times where it isn't. It leaves the goal wide open, and it just can lead to easy goals scored, and they shouldn't be.
Bedoya now with some space, gets it up to Busa. A quick tap back, gets to Sucheki on the far side. Gets to Nealis, moving in, tries to cross it, does not, gets deflected, but it was knocked out by the Pioneers. We will have a corner kick for the Rough Riders. So a great chance to try to tie this game before halftime. We are in the 39th minute of play, just about 6 minutes left before halftime already. Very quick first half, it seems like.
Yep, and here we have Bedoya, who always gets the corner kick, probably looking for Andre Morrison, who's the guy always in these situations.
Higher kick this time, deflected away. Noticeably higher. His first couple of kicks this afternoon were very short. Good slide tackle and kept in play by Carfora. Great defensive play by Carfora. Tries to set it up, trying to get it to Busa, but if it did not roll out of bounds, I had a feeling it was going to be an offsides anyway, so it will be a goal kick for Martinez.
That was a squandered opportunity. Like you said, that was a gorgeous defensive play by Carfora. Unfortunately, they weren't able to convert it into a goal. And we're headed into the second half in about 5.5 minutes here. And even though we saw earlier today with the women's game, a 1-0 lead, a 1-0 deficit, my mistake, at halftime is easily surmountable. I feel like the Rough Riders want to take care of that before they head into the half.
Well, obviously, Coach will be talking to them about the quality of play. Just seems at this point the Pioneers are being a step ahead. They just want it a little bit more, and obviously being the team that trails in the division with a spot in the playoffs on the line, is a big incentive. But this Rough Rider team coming up in the second half must play better than what they're having. They have had good possession. They've had a couple of chances, but overall very sloppy when they've had those chances, unable to convert. That has to change in the second half that's coming up, and hopefully, possibly an equalizer before the half right here. Near sideline, Nealis bringing it in. Trying to cross it does, but it goes over everyone, and it will be a throw-in for the Pioneers on the far sideline. And taken there by Murphy, but turned over quickly. Bedoya now taps it back. Trying to clear it. Cannot, and it looks like kept inbounds. Nice play there by the Pioneers. And Lamb sends it all the way down to Guella. Quickly brought back up by Worf. Worf bringing it all the way through, up to Murphy. A good and a trip. Worf all the way on the offensive end now. Still maintaining possession. Worf taking it upon himself to try to generate some offense. Sending it all the way back, deflected there by Rodriguez. And now a Pioneer gets knocked down and a yellow card has been issued. Cannot see who.
We'll tell you in a second, but that looked like it was pure retaliation. Not only for the shoulder from earlier on in the half, but it looks like the player who was knocked down before he had a no call, and that's number 3, Jeffrey Medina, who was assessed the yellow card. But I want to go back to what Thomas Worf was doing a little bit before we had this yellow card assessed. Earlier on in the half, he was really upset with his teammates, trying to, I guess, agitate them into playing a little bit better. They still didn't. So I like what he did. He took the ball in his own, not hands, but you know what I mean. He took the ball, he figuratively took the ball in his own hands, tried to make something happen by himself, which is something you don't normally see from a defenseman like that. And I think it was sort of a spark. Granted, there are only 3 minutes left in this half. Maybe they can carry that into the second half.
But definitely a defenseman taking it upon himself to get up in the offensive attack like that shows you where his head is at and where this team's head needs to be going into this second half, as they have looked a little sluggish, a little behind the 8 ball so far. Busa now, a little bit of room, had Bedoya cutting, using Bedoya as a mini screen now, and the ball kicked out and hits the post and then goes out the sideline. I'm not sure if hitting the post, it will be a throw-in because it went out that way. And now ball out again, except this time they say last touch by the Rough Riders will be a throw-in for the Pioneers. Headed up and back in, and Murphy this time. Murphy getting around a few defenders. Murphy trying to split a few more. Cannot get through. Good play by Bedoya. Bedoya held for a moment there, and it'll be a free kick for the Rough Riders. We are in the 44th minute, about a minute and a half left of regulation before the stoppage time counter begins. Bedoya, another set piece. Probably about 60 feet out. Into the box. Martinez catches it and settles it down, and will hold it right there.
If I were the Pioneers right now, I would play the most boring game of keep away I've ever played in my life for the next couple of minutes. You don't want to give the Rough Riders any opportunity at the net with just under a minute left of regular play here in the first half.
Nealis now sends it back over to Worf, up to Foster. Foster over to Medina. Try to get it to Murphy, taken away. Up to Moore for the Pioneers. Standing it up, looking for Guella, knocked away by Foster. And it'll be a throw-in for the Pioneers. At this point taken by Velez. And in just a few seconds, and there we are officially in stoppage time.
And that stoppage time will be kept on the field by the referees.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have now Unaltered stoppage time.
And we have a
The
lead pass
referee
for
will keep the
Suchecki.
official time
Going
on the
down the
field.
far side. Defense catches up to him. Taken away there. And kept in play by Rodriguez. Suchecki takes it back from him. Passes it back to Nealis. Nealis splitting the defenders. Quick run. Good slide tackle as the defense. Nealis jumps out of the way. Worf coming in. Pass deflected away, and it will be a throw-in for the Rough Riders.
That was an incredible deflection by Daniel Fabian over there. I think that is the nail in the coffin for the Rough Riders for the half.
Worf sending it over. Deflected away by Lamb, but Bedoya has some time. Kicks it high and up, and it goes wide right, and will be a goal kick for Martinez and the Pioneers. Good attempt. Bedoya figured at that point just need to get a shot off. Does, but unfortunately it goes way too wide. And with this, Martinez expected to take all the time he needs, and will probably head into the half carrying this 1-goal lead. Martinez now sending it deep. Nealis heading it out.
You're not on the ball, Mark. You gotta watch it through that. You gotta watch it through the lens, like I'm watching it here, and you can't see the ball at all right now.
Castanera will take the goal kick. Sending it back out deep down the middle of the field. And a foul called. Free kick for the Pioneers. A little contact after the fact from Busa. Undoubtedly a lot of frustration on this Rough Riders team at this point.
Poor penalties, poor play, a lot of turnovers. A lot of turnovers. I don't like it.
A lot of turnovers. Good sportsmanship there between Lamb and Busa. No harm intended. Ball sent back in. Ruiz trying to throw a lead pass for Rodriguez. Knocked down by Nealis. Worf kicking it back up. Ruiz sending it back down. And Moore sends it back to Lamb. Pioneers trying to see if they can find one more strike in them, but Castanera collects that ball. Gets it up to Bedoya, and there is the whistle for the end of the first half of play. So, one half in the books. The Long Island Rough Riders trail the Western Mass Pioneers 1-0. And so far, the play has been dictated by the
Ladies and
Pioneers.
gentlemen, the score
Rough
at
Riders
the end of
appear
the first
step
half
slow
is the
to this
Western
point.
Western
They
Mass
lost
Pioneers 1 and your
3-0
Long Island Rough Riders
against
0.
this same team just 2 weeks ago. So far in 3 halves of play, it is 4-0 against this team. So the Rough Riders desperately need to find a way to put one in the back of the net early on in the second half.
They really do. You said it before. Really slow play from the Long Island Rough Riders today. Bedoya's not been able to get his corner kicks to go where they normally go, which has been crucial in this deficit. The injuries are also very, very difficult to overcome for the Rough Riders as well. So it's going to be very difficult for the Rough Riders to come back in the second half. I hope they're able to do it.
Well, we will see. We'll be back with the second half of this PDL matchup between the Rough Riders and the Western Mass Pioneers coming up shortly right here on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network.
I need water.
And we're back here on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network with the second half of coverage of this PDL soccer matchup between the Long Island Rough Riders and the Western Mass Pioneers. In the first half, the Western Mass Pioneers dominated the pace of play, were in control from the get-go, and have had the better opportunities thus far. Now the Western Mass Pioneers come into this game just a single point behind your Long Island Rough Riders. And the winner of this game, if they come to a draw, the Long Island Rough Riders advance to the playoffs. Should they lose in regulation to these Pioneers, the Pioneers would jump them in the standings and take over that honor of being in the playoffs. So, the pressure's on the Long Island Rough Riders here in the second half. They need to rebound from their poor play in the first and cement their playoff spot. So we will see what they can do right here, right now, as we get ready for the second half to begin right here on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network. PDL Soccer for your Long Island Rough Riders. Second half begins right now. And here we go as play begins. Rough Riders looking for a quick strike, do not get it. Goes out of bounds, will be a throw-in for the Pioneers on the near sideline.
A substitution for the Rough Riders was made at halftime. Coming onto the pitch, number 15, Matthew Sloan. Coming off the pitch, number 3, Jeffrey Medina.
So, substitution at halftime. Jeffrey Medina comes off, replaced by Matthew Sloan on the defense. Medina had a couple of good offensive plays as a defenseman, but also drew that second yellow card due to frustration at the way his team had been playing so far in the half. Probably one reason why he is not starting this second half.
Makes sense. They can't afford to go down a man right now, especially down one.
And with two defensemen with yellow cards already, you cannot afford to lose, especially one of them.
And Andre Morrison is not coming off the pitch anytime soon.
But here, Bedoya on the far side, trying to find some room. Cannot. Tracked down by Morrison, sent back to Castanera. Castanera over to Worf. Worf takes his time. Gets it over to Foster.
I'm curious to see if Worf's little offensive spurt at the end of the first half carried any weight with the Long Island Rough Riders. If so far it doesn't look like it has, as they've sort of been stagnant on the offensive side of the ball. Granted, we're only 2 minutes into the second half here, but I wanted to see more of a fight from the Rough Riders out the gate.
Well, you never know. Their first opportunity got shut down quickly. Ball went out of bounds. But slowly moving forward, and right now, throw in on the far sideline, another one for the Rough Riders. Suchecki with the ball deep in the corner. Over on the near side, the just inserted Sloan kicked up high and away, looking for Guella. Morrison, though, knocks it down. Back to Worf and over to Foster. Foster getting it out to Busa. Just goes around him. Ruiz gets around Suchecki. Bedoya settles it down. Looking for Suchecki on the far sideline. Ruiz gets there first. And foul called and rolls out of bounds, and it will be a free kick there for the Pioneers. Kick will be taken by Martinez, the keeper. Martinez, a line drive shot. Carfora over the back foul. Free kick right around midfield. Another one for the Pioneers.
Some of the worst things that could have happened to the Rough Riders right there. You cannot be somebody's backpack, especially if it ends up in them getting a free kick at midfield.
Over to Nealis now. Nealis has Sloan next to him. Gets it back into Murphy. Murphy knocked down slightly from behind. No foul called. Little bit of dancing. Rivera gets it up and around. Bedoya intercepts the pass. Bedoya moving around to the far side. Tries to get it on through. It's accurate, but a weak shot right into Martinez, and Martinez corrals it and brings it back out.
At least the Rough Riders are starting to get shots on goal this half. Granted, they're weak. I wouldn't say they're anything special. But making Martinez work might be the start of something for the Rough Riders on offense if they're able to put more shots on goal.
It definitely, at the very least, gets the Pioneers thinking they have to actually pay attention on defense now. Not a lot of quality chances for the Rough Riders in the first half, but a little bit better so far. Pioneers take it away right there. Carfora, the great play, but it rolls out of bounds, and it will be another throw-in for the Pioneers. Fighting off Morrison. And that's been a fun matchup all day. Oh, Morrison trips, and there is Morrison's second yellow card of the match.
He's gone from the game, and now the Rough Riders have to play a man down for the remaining 40 minutes of this game. It was a proper call. There was a clear slide tackle by Andre Morrison. And without the heart and soul of this Rough Rider defense, not only are they a man down, but they lose one of their best defensive players. So this is literally the worst thing that could have happened for the Rough Riders. Losing Andre Morrison, bad. 10 people on the pitch, bad. Losing your best defensive player in the midst of all that, not priceless, really bad.
So the Rough Riders had an uphill battle based on the way the game had been progressing so far, and it just got a whole lot worse. No Andre Morrison, who's big defensively and big on set pieces, especially later in the game, out of the match. In addition, you will play the remainder of this match down a man. So an uphill battle just got extremely more difficult for this Rough Rider team. And barring a miracle at this point, it looks like the clear advantage moving forward goes to the Western Mass Pioneers. Arthur, as I say that, Busa has a clear run. Trying to pick up the ball around the defenders. Defender fell down, unable to get it away. Ball knocked out of bounds, and a foul looks like it was called. Calming everyone down. No card seems to be issued, but he's giving one of the Rough Rider players a warning. Throw in for Nealis. Finds Busa. Busa. And one of the Pioneer players goes down. A foul was called, and it will be a free kick for the Pioneers. And with that Andre Morrison red card after his second yellow, you kind of get the feeling that there was just a little bit of life sucked out of this field right here.
Well, life got sucked out of you and me also. Andre Moore, he's one of the best players the Rough Riders have to offer on any side of the ball at this point. And now everybody else, including Thomas Wharf, who sends the ball downfield for the Rough Riders, has to compensate for that giant loss.
like we're going to have another substitution.
It looks like Tyler Bott, number 24, coming in for the Long Island Rough Riders. And Bedoya is out of the game. Oh, boy.
Daniel Bedoya.
So Bedoya
Coming onto the pitch,
out of the
number
game as
24,
well.
Tyler Body.
And Busa on the near side, a little bit of room. Foster to Nealis. Nealis goes down, taken away by the Pioneers and newly inserted. Good slide tackle, able to get the ball away from the Pioneer player and gets it off that same player, so it will be Rough Rider ball. Quick throw in, taken out by Sloan. Sloan looking to lead Busa, does so, gets around Lamb, cannot get around both defenders, and Busa is having a hard time. He looks like he's trying to do it all by himself.
Looks like we have a little bit of scuffle happening on the sidelines over here right in front of us.
Altercation between Foster and Velez. Ruled Rough Rider ball. He's trying to talk to the Pioneer player right now. No card thrown at this point. So that's Velez and Fabian talking to him as well. Here we go with the throw-in. Go throwing deep right into the box, hoping for a quick header. Headed a couple of times. Sent back into the box, headed straight up by Foster. Ball trying to be settled down, so far unable to. Worf, good defensive play, keeps it away from Guella. Gets it up to Nealis now. Nealis near sideline, trying to get around the outside man. Gets pushed down.
Now, how is that not a call? He actually physically extended his arms, pushed him away from the ball, and he fell down.
I am not sure about the no call there.
This is not the first time we have seen referees treat the Rough Riders with anything less than kindness, to say the least.
But right now is definitely not the time to be seeing any of that. They still trail 1-0 in the 57th minute. And at the same time are playing down a man. They do not need the refs giving blatant non-calls at any point during the remainder of this match. Rough Rider throwing. Busa heads it up, trying to find Murphy. Last tipped out by the Pioneers, so it'll be another throw-in for the Rough Riders.
You think the Rough Riders are going to miss Bedoya's legs later on in this game?
Normally I'd say yes, but Bedoya was not having his best kind of game, so today he seemed a little bit off. So it actually, at least for today, may be a positive thing that he was subbed out.
You still have Arthur Busa on the field as we look like that we're going to have an opportunity at a shot.
Busa knocked down in front. Busa cannot get a clear shot off again.
As I say his name, he tries to make something happen. Busa is going to be the only offensive pressure that the Rough Riders are going to get for the remainder of this game unless somebody else can step up big.
Nealis, some space in front of him. One man to beat. Trying to find it around. Good deflection there by the defender from the Pioneers. Sloan up now. Trying to find Nealis. Does. Nealis trying to get around the defender. Makes a move. A little bit of space. Another good deflection defensively by the Pioneers, and they begin to break out. And a weak push-off, and the ref calls a foul. And I'm stunned that he did, actually, because that was weaker than the time just a few minutes ago that Nealis was pushed off the ball, which was not called.
This is very strange. Everything that can be going wrong for the Rough Riders is right now. And we're going to have the goal kick the ball from what looks to be 45 yards out of the box, which is just mind-numbing to me.
Car forward jumps, knocks down the ball, lets it go out. Last touch apparently by the Pioneers, which is why Kafora let it go and is not happy that it has been ruled a Pioneer ball. quick moves from Sucheki. Gets the ball out, but quickly taken away by the Pioneers. Moving it all the way to the near side now. That's Boucher. Sending it all the way back over to Rodriguez. Moore now. Right back to Rodriguez. Rodriguez looking for an opening. Headed away by Worf. Coming up is Rivera. Rivera gets the ball through the defense, but a weak roller. Castanera takes it right there.
Very lucky it came off his foot at an awkward angle to make it a very weak shot on goal. But the immediate defensive pressure by the Pioneers is there. The second Castanera gets the ball into play, you could tell the Pioneers want this game and want this game probably more than the Rough Riders do at this point, as the ball deflects off a Rough Rider, goes out of bounds, and results in a Pioneer ball.
And defensively, the Rough Riders are not playing badly. Their one goal allowed so far was on a penalty kick. And you could say it's because the Pioneers were forcing the issue a little bit much and drew that foul, which is true. But offensively, not including the penalty kick, they have not generated very much actually dangerous opportunities. No more so than the Rough Riders themselves. So a very good overall defensive game, and obviously the one difference being the one penalty kick that went in for the Pioneers.
From strictly a scoreboard perspective, I feel like you are correct. But if I sat somebody down who really has not watched a lot of soccer in their lifetime and they watched the last 60 minutes of play the same as we have, I think they'd come to the same conclusion that I am, in that the Pioneers are completely dominating both sides of the ball right now.
I don't think dominating is the appropriate word.
Fine. They have a distinct advantage.
Well, at this point they do. They're playing 11 on 10.
Before the red card.
It's actually been fairly even, especially in the second half. They look much more evenly matched. Rough Riders a little slow in the beginning of the game, especially early in the first half. But opportunities-wise, I actually say the better opportunities to score have actually gone to the Rough Riders, especially here in the second half.
I think I'd agree with you in the second half, but in the grand scheme of things, in my opinion, it's been Pioneers all day. And that penalty that they were able to coerce the Rough Riders into making easily and obviously is the difference in this game. But even without that, I feel as if because the Pioneers were able to get under the skin of the Rough Riders, they would have scored a goal regardless, and they're looking to make it 2 right now.
Well, you never know. Carfora clears it out. Little trouble there. Get over the head of Moore. Busa now. Quickly pestered by the defense of the Pioneers. And sending it all the way back to Martinez, who punts it right back out to midfield. Looking for Rodriguez. Carfora. A weak tap. Gets it over to Foster. And ruled a handball, and it will be a kick for the Pioneers once again. Rough Riders do not seem to have any luck as far as the bounce of the ball at this point right now. Looking down the far side now, trying to find Fabian. Does, crosses into the middle. Gets right by Guella, and Rodriguez now putting pressure on the far side. Sucheki, not a lot of room to operate, and ends up kicking it out of bounds, but deflected off of the Pioneers. Will be a throw-in for the Rough Riders. Foster now, playing the ball in the middle of the field. Weak pass again. Sloan able to get around his man. Trying to lead Nealis.
That's going over our heads.
Way over. And the ball does not only go out of play, it goes over the stands and out of the arena. Now, ball played back to Foster, up to Nealis. And deflected, last touch by the Rough Riders.
The pole is in the way of your shot.
I know. I can't do anything about it.
Substitution for the Long Island Rough Riders in the 63rd minute. Coming onto the pitch, number 11, River Sibolt.
And
Coming
River
off the pitch,
Seabolt
number
comes on
7,
now,
Thomas Suchecki.
replacing Thomas Suchecki. So another one of the offensive players, Suchecki, being rotated out.
For a forward instead of a mid. So it looks like they're going to try to mount all the offensive pressure they possibly can in the remaining 25 minutes of the game.
So last substitution in the 63rd minute. We'll see how it goes right now, but it is not looking good at this point for the Rough Riders. Not a lot of space to operate for them so far. The defense of the Western Mass Pioneers has been suffocating to this point. And Busa, good defensive play. Try to get back the ball. Murphy gets it past. Almost got it to Nealis. Last touch and kicked out by the Pioneers. So the Rough Riders have a throw in on the far sideline, just outside the box area. And throw right into the box, headed away by the Pioneers, and he will just let it bounce out of bounds and take another throw in. And reset. A quick throw in, line drive, kicked up right again, will not go out of bounds this time. Sloan trying to play the position. Murphy. Good defensive play, gets it over to Seabolt, just entered the game. And a little bit of chasing around, looking for Guella. Guella beats his man, gets by Wharf. Guella, just the keeper to beat. Castanera, good kick save, good defensive play by Castanera.
Castanera is the best player on the field right now for the Rough Riders. So if they want to keep this game at a 1-0 deficit, he needs to make plays like
Slow
that.
up to Nealis. Nealis with room. Nealis behind the defense, looking to move in. Chipped into the box and caught right there by Martinez. And now moving up the Pioneers. Fabian into the middle to Rivera. Back to Fabian. Far side, near sideline, excuse me. Crossing into the box, looking for Guella. Misses him, but Rodriguez has an open opportunity. Castanera way out of the box, deflected, and it goes out of bounds, and it will be a corner kick for the Pioneers.
There's Castanera again, proving he's the best player on the field right now for the Rough Riders. And I said it, he's got to be that guy. Now that Morrison is out of the game, and he's been out of the game for the past 15 or so minutes, it really comes down to how well Castanera can leave this at a 1-0 lead.
And a little contact there, and we have a Pioneer player go down. Another head-to-head situation looking.
And you got the trainer coming out now for the Pioneers. So it looks like this is more serious of an injury than at least I at first anticipated. But he started to get up on his own power, and it looks like it was just an acting job.
No, I believe it was head-to-head contact, both. But in a situation with concussions with head contact, you're going to have the trainer come out and just check.
Fair.
Because it looks like it's Lamb, and it looks like he is walking off the field at this point. Just getting checked out real quick with the doctor. Has to come out for a few seconds. Looks like he's going to check in fairly quickly. And he is back in right away. Busa trying to create an opportunity for himself, but trying to weave through 5 Pioneer defenders by himself. Unable to get a good look. And that ball kicked straight out by the Pioneers, so it's a throw-in. Another one for the Rough Riders. Still just trailing 1-0 here in the 69th minute. They just need that equalizing goal. A draw for them is good enough to secure a playoff spot, but a loss will not save them. So they need to find this equalizing goal. And if you're the Pioneers, you do everything in your power to make sure they don't get it.
It basically looks like the Ooh, that is a...
A kick to the head for Rivera. And
That's Murphy down. That's Murphy down. Another one of the primary offensive threats for the Rough Riders. And he hasn't moved since he hit the ground. There's a lot of sportsmanship right now on the side of the Pioneers as Daniel Fabian is going to bring a bottle of water over to Murphy. So that's incredible sportsmanship from them. Only a yellow card was assessed, so Pioneers can consider themselves lucky in that regard. As Murphy's going to come off the field at least for a little bit to test to see if he is indeed concussed.
Part of that event is that are actually waiting to see exact placement. If this is just outside of the box, it looks like. So the other unfortunate aspect is it was not in the box for a penalty kick to try to tie the game easily, but just outside, so you will see a good attempt on goal from this distance.
You see that wall of players in front though, so you wouldn't necessarily get that right away.
Blocked through from the wall, tapped up and around, and taken back by Martinez.
But more importantly than that, Murphy's coming back onto the field of play after taking that kick to the face. So I said it before, I'll say it again. Soccer players, while they can pretend to be very tough, some of them are actually some of the toughest people, some of the toughest athletes in the world.
Waiting on a referee whistle on a throw-in. The Pioneer throw-in. Looks like another injured player will be Orlick for the Pioneers. And it looks like he's coming out. Being substituted in is number 2.
Substitution in the 73rd minute for Western Mass.
That is Nicole Calderon.
Coming off the pitch, number 13, Lash Orlick.
Extended waiting because newly entered Calderon is the one doing the throw. All the way to Guella. Dealing with Carfora. And Bot. Looking for Busa. Quick header over to Nealis. Another one, tripped up almost. A couple of players in the box. Looking to try to get it through. Just wide left. Last deflected by the Pioneers. And it looks like we will have a corner kick for the Rough Riders. So, a set-piece opportunity here on the corner.
But for the first time in about 2 weeks, Bedoya is not going to be the one to set it up. Setting it up is going to be Dylan Nealis. So we'll see how he sets it up. And Andre Morrison isn't there for the header.
Well, they still have plenty of people, and here it is. Here's the service into the box. Over everybody, kicked high and away. Carfora sends it deep back in. Foster's right there. And they rule offsides.
Wow. That is a meh-worthy call if I have ever seen a meh-worthy call.
It did not look from our vantage point that he was offside. It looked like he was right in line with the defender. Horrible chance broken for the Rough Riders. And time is of the essence. We are now at 74 minutes in.
A lot of jostling for the ball. And now Fabian has the ball pushed down, but there is no penalty. Is Fabian still on the floor? And the ref has called a 2-minute time out for water. It is very hot today. We have mentioned this.
This is the third water break that the ref has called so far in this half, so we are going to have a lot of stoppage time. As the clock, oh actually no, we can pause it.
We're pausing the clock here. We're not entirely sure why. This isn't typical. This is not typical of soccer.
The official clock has stopped. I've never seen that.
Me neither.
They're just gonna. Okay, I see what they're just gonna stop. 5 minutes stoppage time. Ugh.
So as this break begins to wrap up, we'll have about 15 minutes left in the game plus stoppage time.
I'm going to hazard a guess and say we're going to have a full 5 minutes of stoppage time.
Most likely. But that only helps to the Rough Riders' advantage at this point, as they'll need just about every opportunity they can. Still playing a man down. I've actually done very well with playing a man down to this point since Morrison was ejected from the game. But the opportunities have not been converted. It has not been many quality chances. A couple that they've had have just not gone their way. A couple of questionable calls by the referees have all contributed to them still remaining down 1-0. Now Rodriguez and Rivera collide. Fabian. Ball out. Quick throw in by the Rough Riders, and then another deflection. Nealis going deep, looking for Foster. Nealis. Settled down by Sloan. All the way back to Ward. Bot now, sending it up. Foster heads it, goes just to the right of Busa, taken away by the defense. Looking for Guella again, gets by Bot. Carfor chasing him down, sends it back. Murphy now trying to get involved. Foster spinning around on his knee a couple of times, trying to get a foot on the ball. A little push in the back. And it looks like it will be a free kick for the Pioneers. Player still down. Grapp is spinning at his foot.
The Rough Riders are really starting to turn up the volume on their play right now. With about 13 minutes left, I'm not entirely sure how fruitful their efforts will be. But it's nice to see. They should have done this about, 75 minutes or so ago.
Well, the aggressiveness certainly is there now. Sloan heads it away. But when you're playing catch-up and down a man, you start to see these legs get awfully tired these last 15 minutes.
which makes it even more ironic that this is where they're starting to turn on the pressure, because they looked incredibly sluggish throughout most of the game, and now, I don't want to say all of a sudden, but they've been ramping up to this. It looks like the opposition bench of the Pioneers are looking for a call that they're just not going to get, and they seem furious about that.
But the Pioneers controlling the ball now. Simple passes, wide open. Not taking a lot of chances, at the same time playing keep away a little bit. Fabian on the near side. Over to Moore. Knocked down from behind, and they ruled that a foul call. Not much contact was there. And it looks like Rodriguez still down, getting up slowly. Appears to be fine though.
There's a lot of animosity between these two teams here today. I feel like part of it stems from the 3-0 victory the Pioneers had over the Rough Riders a couple of weeks ago. But today's game has only added to the ferocity that these two teams feel towards one another.
Ball on goal and caught directly and taken away by Castanera. Castanera having a great game, obviously gave up the penalty kick shot. And goal, the lone goal scored here in this matchup.
Other than that, it's all good.
But clearly, the Pioneers are doing something that the Rough Riders simply do not like. 2 games so far, almost 2 complete games against them, and they have yet to put one in the back of the net. And Carrefour whistled for a foul. Waiting on the kick. Bot heads it away. Carrefour now. Headed back. Fabian trying to settle it down. Gets to the ball. Neal's fighting with him. Over to Moore now. Back to the middle. There's Ruiz. Back up to Fabian. And now Guella. Trying to make a move. Can't find an opening. Gets it back. Rivera in the middle of the field. Has his shot blocked. Ruiz over to Rodriguez. Solid defense at this point by the Rough Riders, and another foul has been called. Looks like he got tripped up. The Rough Riders complaining, and a yellow card has been issued to the Rough Riders.
This is just dirty, poor play. Number 23, Justin Carrefour, is the gentleman who was given the yellow card. It's just a really bad day for the Rough Riders today in terms of the way they've been playing, the poor penalties, the poor turnovers. The one penalty shot, their defense has been okay. Their offense has been abysmal. You have another shot on goal, and Castanera comes up from essentially out of nowhere to make a beautiful glove on the ball and sends it deep into Pioneer territory.
Well,
with about,
I can understand the frustration of the Rough Rider players.
Oh, I can too.
The refs seem to be a little bit one-sided in the types of foul calls that are being given. Only the most egregious foul calls so far have gone to the Pioneers, but every seemingly relatively light trip or tap has been called against the Rough Riders. So I can understand the frustration a little bit. And obviously down 1-0, it's getting very late in the game as we're in the 82nd minute now, with only about 10 to 15 minutes left of actual gameplay. And it looks like we have another substitution for the Pioneers. Coming off is number 14, Fabian. Coming on is number 11, Tommaso D'Agostino. Oh, no, excuse me. It was not Fabian.
Is being made
It
for
is Matthew
Western
Moore.
Mass in the 82nd minute. Coming onto the pitch, number 11, Tommaso D'Agostino. Coming off the pitch, number 18, Pierre Villes.
It's extra defense right now for the Pioneers, so they're looking to play shut, tight-knit defense from here on out.
Well, they are about 8+ minutes, including stoppage time, away from making a playoff berth should this game finish with the same 1-0 score. And Bot, trying to find a way around his defenders, cannot. Anytime one of these Rough Rider strikers gets a hold of the ball, he seems to be surrounded at all times. Rodriguez now quickly on the return. Slowing it down now. Good takeaway by Busa. Murphy now up the middle of the field. Over to Niels. Now gets it to Seabolt on the near side. Has Busa in the middle along with Murphy. Seabolt cutting in. And Busa comes out, gets tripped up by the keeper. Ball last touch and deflected by the Rough Riders, so it will be a goal kick for Martinez. Solid play by Martinez there.
Yeah, but that was also the best opportunity the Rough Riders had at a goal today. And about 6.5 minutes left here in the second half of play before stoppage time. The Rough Riders really needed that one. They've absolutely needed that one. Unless they're able to score in stoppage time or within the next 6 minutes, it's going to be lights out for the Rough Riders today.
And it will be a Rough Rider free kick. The Pioneers complaining to the ref about it, but he has told them he will not be hearing any of it at this point. So Murphy with a free kick. Serves it into the box. Deflected, kick straight up in the air. Rodriguez gets it out, Murphy tracking it down, taps it forward, tripped up, and it will be another free kick for the Rough Riders. Might actually be a blessing in disguise for the Pioneers, as it looks like Busa had a step on his defender deep along the goal line.
It wouldn't have mattered the way the Pioneers are playing their defense today.
You never know. You can't say it never would have mattered. And another yellow card has been issued. Wow. Not sure who was complaining this time specifically, or which team. Just saw the yellow card come out as members of both teams were around him.
A yellow card has been assessed to Rough Riders number 10.
Wow, Colin Murphy was just assessed a yellow card, I guess, for talking back to the referee, which is just a poor call. As the ball gets sent in, excellent play by the goaltender, Ben Martinez, to make the save on it. He's just going to pitch the ball back into play. We're in the 85th minute here at St. Anthony's. The Pioneers have a 1-0 lead on your Long Island Rough Riders.
Rodriguez now bringing it up and passes it out of bounds. Rough Rider thrown right at midfield. They're going to one of these chances has to be converted, and handball called right there, so moving up the field slowly. This time the ball stays in play though. So a free kick opportunity here. And this is what you call committing, as all 10 of the Rough Rider players are playing up right now, trying to swarm them with numbers. Tapped up, header by Seabolt, kicked away by the defense, heading out of bounds, and they will let it go out of bounds, it looks like. But this is complete. We need to tie this game mode, as every member is up at the line. Seabolt looking for some space. Seabolt kicks it, deflected.
Wow.
And it will be a corner kick. They rule. The Rough Riders looking for a handball there. Do not get it, but they do get a corner kick.
These referees are not making very many friends today.
No, into the box. Header just over the net by Bot. Right in front of the box, unable to convert, just goes high, could not get in front of the ball, hit it right back up. Another missed opportunity for the Rough Riders. We have about 3 minutes of regulation time left and then stoppage time. Opportunities running out for the Rough Riders to tie this game. And an absolute horrible kick-in by Martinez. Rough Rider ball.
Maybe he felt bad. Give the Rough Riders an opportunity.
I don't think that would be the case here.
I think you're correct. What's a very disappointing day for the Rough Riders is Matthew Sloan gets a nice run in, deep throw in, tries to get it in the center, unable to do so as the ball gets deflected out, but Colin Murphy is able to corral it in.
Gets it over to Siebold now, kicked out by the Pioneers. It'll be another throw in for the Rough Riders. Time getting short. They need this equalizing goal. They tie this game. They can go to the, or any point after that, they can go to the playoffs. They do not. This ends in a 1-0 loss. Then they are eliminated, and the Western Mass Pioneers end up in the playoffs. Ball goes around. Siebold right in front and deflected away by Martinez. Siebold on the doorstep, could not put it in. And now Fabian gets it over to Guella. Guella with a straight shot at the keeper. A great play by Worf. Slide tackle, all ball, knocks it away from Guella. Great defensive play. Siebold with the chance to tie it right in front, could not put it past, but then a great defensive play to avoid going down 2-0 and officially ending this game.
That was an incredible 30 seconds of play. Probably the most action-packed 30 seconds of play we've seen all day. An incredible save by Martinez. An equally incredible stop by Thomas Worf to keep this game manageable at 1-0, even though with almost 1 minute left of regular play, including a full 5 minutes of stoppage time, the Rough Riders need to make something happen, and they need to make it happen now as Castaneras sends the ball into play.
Murphy comes up, heads it. Foster now kicks it forward just a little too far. Siebold running after it, but then just kicked out of bounds. Questionable decision by the Pioneer defense. It allows the entire Rough Rider team to make their way up into the offensive zone as they're going to need to, because we are just outside of stoppage time. And we have one more substitution. Looks like Colin Murphy, I believe it's Colin Murphy, coming off, and Junior
Substitution in
Rosero
the 89th minute for the Long Island
is
Rough Riders.
coming on as the
Coming
last
onto the pitch, number
substitution.
14, Junior Rosero. Coming off the pitch, number 10, Colin Murphy.
And that is the substitution. One more fresh chance. And a bad throw-in cleared all the way down. Worf sends it back in quickly, but an inaccurate pass. But another kick kicks it all the way down. Foster is right there, has possession now deep in the territory. Rosero deflects it into the box now. Siebold trying to get position, almost pulled down by the defense. And another questionable foul call, and another yellow card.
That was incidental contact. I would not have called a yellow on that.
I do not believe that was intentional. I do not see it necessary for another yellow card, but that one issued to Matthew Sloan.
That was 190% incidental contact. Sloan was trying to make a play on the ball, and we are officially in stoppage time. But this is without a doubt the most sloppy Rough Rider game we have seen all year, which is sad because this is also their most important game. Of all games to just not be there mentally, physically, emotionally, this is not the game to do it.
I don't think it's been that sloppy. I just think the Pioneers have been a little bit ahead at certain points. The Rough Riders, in spite of some shaky play, have still been right there, have had their opportunities. At the same time, I think the decisions of the referees in this game have been very questionable at best. But we are in stoppage time now. Game could be over at any minute. So obviously the Pioneers taking their time, and the Rough Riders looking for an opportunity. Not much time left. The whistle could come at any moment. We do expect to have a couple of minutes of play here, but we just don't know when. And as soon as that whistle hits, without that equalizing goal, the Rough Riders season is over. Kick behind Foster. Foster leaving it for Siebold, allowing everyone to get deep. Siebold quickly trying to move outside. Puts it in quickly to Foster. And there
That's a handball.
We have a handball in the box. There will be a penalty kick to tie this game.
Oh, he just pushed the referee.
How is there no card immediately issued for that? A Pioneer player just pushed the referee.
There should be 4 red cards attributed to that man right now.
But
It
not
is
even one, not even a
unacceptable.
single card.
Unacceptable not to issue him any card
And they are
whatsoever.
arguing with the ref and no card issued. Another point. Once again, I'm going back.
Only a yellow card. You push the referee.
I am surprised he was not ejected for that.
Unbelievable.
Access to Western Massachusetts number 16, Matt Moore, in the 90s.
So in stoppage time, we have a penalty shot right now for the Rough Riders. It's going to be taken by Junior Rosero.
And here we go. This kick will make or break this Rough Rider season right here in stoppage time. They tie this game and end as a draw. Here's Rosero's kick. And
it!
puts it in!
Oh
Rosero
my!
puts it in the back of the net. Rosero has tied this game at 1 in stoppage time.
Wow! If that is not energy intravenously, I don't know what is. Granted, the rest of this game should be played 10v10 because one of the Pioneers literally shoved the ref, and it looks like somebody's hurt because the goalkeeper comes all the way out and is pushing Rosero. There was a little bit of offsides over there, but it wasn't called.
So we have a 1-1 tie now, and now you see the desperation from the other side as Western Mass aggressively pushing forward as they know this game cannot end in a tie. This game must end.
And that's the game!
There's the whistle.
Wow.
With a literal last-minute goal. A penalty kick caused by a handball in the box. Junior
And
Rosero-
we have a red card down there. And it looks like number 16 for the Pioneers. Who is that?
That
Matt Moore.
Just issued the first yellow card.
He has it out for the referees. And with that, the Rough Riders play to a 1-1 tie and go to the playoffs.
An absolute dramatic ending, and we said it was not over until it was over. And in the final minute, pressure put on by the Rough Riders, force a handball in the box, force a penalty kick, and Junior Rosero, the hero, the man of the year for the Rough Riders.
I would say it's maybe Andre Morrison, maybe it's Busa, maybe it's Bedoya, but no.
It is Junior Rosero.
Junior Rosero has earned the crown for the Long Island Rough Riders today. That is not even on the scoreboard yet, but I promise you, we did play to a 1-1 tie here today at St. Anthony's.
That is all that matters. A thrilling game all around and a very exciting ending. And we could not have scripted that any better. No regulation goals. Both goals coming on penalty shots. Absolute mayhem at the end. And obviously much venting and frustration from this Western Mass Pioneers team. As you can understand, they went from being in the playoffs to 2 seconds later being out of it. So it is over. That is it. It is done. The Rough Riders are in the playoffs, and their season continues moving forward next week. So that's it for us here today from Millville, New York. The Long Island Rough Riders come back in the second half and tie the game to force a playoff berth. So once again, this is PDL Soccer at its finest. So signing off for now, I'm Will Canova, along with Eric Kravitz.
That's me!
For the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network, this is PDL Soccer. Your Long Island Rough Riders have made it to the playoffs. We will see you soon. Have a good night, everybody. Well, shit.
Wow.
That's ridiculous.
Fans, we thank you for all of your support during the 2017 season. And don't miss out on any playoff action for both the men and the women's teams. Follow along on our website, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
stopping.